Hi, I've had my seventh neurofeedback session, and I wanted to give an update on how that was going. This was the first session where I really didn't feel better afterwards. Um, I mean, I did feel no. Let me take that. Let me take that back. I was completely in a funk and really agitated and depressed, and I did notice I do normally notice after the like 33-minute session that everything's just a little it's like somehow the edge has been taken off, and so I did feel better. But what I mean is that I didn't feel better, like I don't know, like normally at work or something will happen and I'll realize that I'm not reacting the same, that I feel less anxious. And this time, aside from the like immediate kind of feeling better, I didn't really notice much of anything. Um, and actually, I've still, I don't know, what was it? It was after a couple of the previous sessions where I had extreme fatigue after, and fatigue is really a trigger for me to get really depressed because then I don't want to go out, and then I feel depressed about not going out, and I really worry that I'm isolating too much, and it just um, it sets me down a path, a downward spiral. Sorry. And I noticed that it's weird because it didn't happen in the beginning. It happened after a few sessions, and there was one session where I think I made a video after. I was depressed for like 4 days. 4 days, I hardly left the house. I hardly talked to anyone. It was pretty bad. And then the next time, which I think was the sixth session, it only lasted like a day and a half. And then the last one, my seventh session, I honestly didn't notice any fatigue at all, so that was nice. It's a very strange thing just off to the side here is that I've lost about 6 pounds, which for me is like I've been struggling with my weight for over a decade. And 6 pounds, for me to lose 6 pounds without doing anything, like I didn't do anything. I I just moved and my apartment complex has a pool, and there was one day I was getting out of the pool and there's a window in front of you and I always see my reflection, and I was like, huh, I think I look a little smaller. And this is like within 1 month because I've only been here a month. And then I was just kind of curious, and my scale was broken. I put it in the garbage and I bought a new one. And I couldn't believe it. I stepped on it and I was like, there's no way. Do you know how hard it is for me to lose 6 pounds? I would have to be doing my calorie count. I would have to be doing all of these things like religiously to lose 6 pounds. It was 6 pounds for me is like almost 5% of my, not quite, but pretty close to 5% of my body weight. Um, so it's significant. And that, I mean, that's the biggest thing I've noticed with the neurofeedback. Um, and I just noticed that, it's not like I'm eating much healthier, but I'm eating less. And I notice I feel full. Normally I would feel full and I just keep eating. Like I've explained this to, actually explained this to my trainer, and she was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. You know, I would eat, feel full, and I would just keep eating and keep eating until like the level of pain in my stomach is like really uncomfortable. And I couldn't stop myself. And now I just noticed that like I'm hungry less, and I can still eat a bunch of, like, I had an O. Henry bar tonight. That wasn't, and I had fast food, but I just eat less. It's weird. Anyways, that was a total side note. I mean, it's nice. I'll take it, right? I'll totally take it. But I'm mostly doing this for my anxiety and depression. I did notice after my last session, my depression seemed to lift for a few days, and then it came right back. Um, but like I'm saying, like for those few days, it was pretty wonderful. Like not even a little bit wonderful. Like the best I've felt in a long time. I was even messaging people. I was telling people, I'm like, I haven't felt this good in like since my all my shit started like 16 years ago. And I was just so sure that that would continue. And then I had my last session where like nothing, nothing. I did say in my last session, I was talking about my Effexor, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you're on Effexor." She's like, "Maybe we need to look at reducing that." And I'm like, "Why? Why would that like? Would that actually make you feel worse?" I'm like, "Because I do feel like in the at least in the past session, yeah, I just feel I've been feeling really agitated, really depressed lately. It's weird because I can leave the house and function and be okay and like forget about things for a while, get out of my head. And then I'll come back home and I'll be so depressed, like so depressed. Which is weird. And I honestly feel like it's so funny talking right now. There's something about talking. I feel better. I feel good. I feel like whatever. But today and for the past few days, I've been feeling like I'm going crazy, maybe. Like I'm just like, I'm so addictive with my internet right now. And just so fucking crazy, I feel in many ways. And trying to reach out and then isolating and it's just a shitstorm in my head lately. Really, I feel like the past couple weeks have been quite challenging. Um, and so the neurofeedback has been like these little, in the times where I felt better, like the beginning sessions, and the ones where I wasn't super depressed afterwards, or when after that depression subsided, fatigue subsided. I felt there were days where I felt really good. So it's like, I don't know, my highs have been really high and my lows have been really low. And it feels like before all the neurofeedback, I was a little more stable, like still depressed and still anxious, but like kind of able to function a bit better. So I don't know. Anyways, my trainer was saying, yeah, actually, as your training continues, the medication can actually, and I just looked this up. Okay, it's biased because it's from Zengar Institute, who makes the neurooptimal system. But I was like hunting furiously on Google, and I found this document about them saying like there are some times when the medication at a certain point you almost need to reduce the medication or come off of it or whatever, because this as something is going right here, the side effects of the medication become a problem. So I don't know. There is part of me that thinks that might be happening, might be. But also, I mean, I was off medication for 5 months and I went traveling for 2 of those months. And I went back on because I was having suicidal thoughts. And not that I would act on them, but it's really quite terrifying to have thoughts like that. And I have been on and off ever since then, and it's not good. And oh my God, I just totally lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, and so I'm really scared that I'm on the lowest dose anyways, like I'm on such a low dose and doctors don't They read what if they haven't been through it themselves and they haven't been on antidepressants themselves, which I've seen some doctors who I think have because they just get it better, and some that are most, I should say, that are just like kind of clueless, right? They go by what they read in the book, and I'm a nurse and I know what I read in the books too, and it's just like it's so out to lunch sometimes. I experienced withdrawal symptom before I knew about it. I went on Effexor in 2000, like two or three, and he said stay on for a year, so I stayed on for a year, and then I came off. And that whole withdrawal symptom, I experienced it, and Google was around then, and nobody was talking about it, and it was not anywhere, but I knew it. I knew it was from the medication because you feel it. And now everybody knows about it. So there's this lag. There's a huge lag. So I'm like, you know. Anyways, my doctor's like, before I went on off of FX, or she's like, oh yeah, you're probably, they don't even consider the level that I was on a therapeutic level. Really, in the books, it's not a therapeutic level. But I know what I feel, and it does do what it does what it does, and it did help when I went back on. I felt better. I can't really explain why I've been in such a shitstorm for the past few weeks, but I have been. Um, Anyways, so I'm just saying my doctor's was totally okay with me coming off. And even, I mean, I too was like, well, I feel like I've been doing okay. And I want to know what I'm like off of it. And I did. I wanted to learn what I was like off of meds. It had been like over 10 years since I had last come off. In fact, exactly 10 years because I remember it was like 2006, 11 years. Anyways, and anyways, I haven't seen her since all that happened, so my doctor doesn't even know. But she was okay with me coming off before. I don't know. If I go back in now, I'm gonna be like, well, I was really struggling. I was having suicidal thoughts. She'll be like, oh, okay, go back on. And then if I say like, oh, but I'm doing this thing neurooptimal, and they think that I should come off, it's just like, oh, I don't know. You bring them on the crazy train with you. And it is crazy. I'm really scared about lowering it, and at the same time I do feel like because I had such good feelings there for a while after the neurofeedback, I feel like I might be crazy, right? It might be just like a fantasy of mine, but I'm like, maybe it's true. Maybe I would actually feel better with lowering it. I'm on the lowest dose, and it's only one pill, and it's a extended release pill. It's extremely hard to cut, and you can never cut it evenly. And with Effexor, the half life is so short that it's really hard to reduce. I mean, you can't just reduce, you have to really just slowly come off. Um, so I'm debating that again. I don't really know what to do. I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna do it again. Even though it's like it's really hard to come off, but maybe I could somehow get myself to like half a pill just to see the difference. Um, with the neurofeedback. I felt so good on the neurofeedback for some of those days since I've started. Like so good that I'm like, and I'm ready to buy the system, and it's extremely expensive. It's more than 10,000, and that's American dollars. It's more like 15,000 Canadian. So it's a huge investment. But I'm like, I've been struggling for so long, and I've just been feeling so like desperate lately. Like I just don't want to live my life this way. Like I can't date. I don't even trust my friends. I get into arguments all the time. I see it. Like I see it happening and I can't stop myself. I'm in it. And I feel really frustrated and I feel bad, but at the same time I'm really angry at people. I feel really angry at my family a lot, and people who, anyways, people who saw, bystanders who saw what was going on and did nothing, and I'm just like, and I did nothing. I didn't do what I should have done. And I'm just like, I'm so angry at so much. Um, okay, aside from the weight loss, I do notice that I am less socially anxious, and it's so weird because I thought that that was my whole problem, was just social anxiety, and it turns out it's not. Because even though I see that I am can talk to people easier and do these things easier, that I'm still having the thoughts like I can't trust them. It doesn't matter if I can talk easier. I don't trust them. You can't trust them. You can't. And I do still have anxious thoughts like I can't stand it being around people. I just want to be by myself where I can relax and trust myself. But there is a level of that I notice where I just communicate easier. I do. I communicate easier. It's very subtle, but it's there. It's just not coming with the inner peace that I desire. I don't know. It's a shitstorm. There's one other thing I'm really curious about, and that is, and I've seen videos, don't laugh, on using MDMA, ecstasy, and therapy. And it's not legal, but there's clinical trials going on. Of course, none in my city. There's clinical trials in the States, and I think there have been some in BC, which isn't that far from me. I would totally travel to do that. But I don't think there's anything going on right now. But that's something I would totally do, because, and that, to be honest, I would do that over neurofeedback, because that is on a level of like psychotherapy, like deep healing. I think you're doing therapy, and you're talking about your traumas, and I don't know, it's quite fascinating. The videos I've seen, quite fascinating. Anyways, but I'll use whatever works, basically. That's about all I have to say. I did have a couple days after my sixth session, I think, where my depression had lifted significantly for a few days. And then it just, went back to the usual. Anyways, I said that already. That's my update. I guess I'll make a video after every couple sessions and see how it's going. Ciao.